Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Bill.
Hey everyone, it's great to be back. I hope you're all excited because today we're diving into a really important topic: how to improve your English speaking skills.
That's right, Bill. Speaking English confidently is something many learners struggle with, but don't worry. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what to do to speak better and more fluently.
Absolutely! And if you've ever felt nervous speaking English, or if you've worried about making mistakes, you're not alone.
Exactly. Everyone makes mistakes, and that's part of learning. But with the right techniques, you can become a more confident English speaker.
So, in this episode, we will discuss why many people struggle with speaking English, how to overcome those challenges, and we'll share some powerful techniques to boost your speaking skills.
Yes, we'll also talk about how you can practice speaking, even if you don't have a speaking partner, and we'll share some fun ways to make speaking English a part of your daily life.
That's right. So, whether you're a beginner or an advanced learner, stay tuned because we've got you covered.
Let's get started. Bill, why do you think so many learners struggle with speaking English? What's the main problem they face?
That's a great question, Sarah. I think one of the biggest challenges people face when trying to speak English is fear. Fear of making mistakes or being judged.
Absolutely. I think a lot of learners are really self-conscious about their grammar or pronunciation. They worry about saying something wrong, and that fear stops them from speaking.
Yes, and that fear can lead to hesitation, which actually makes speaking even harder. If you're worried about making a mistake, you might avoid speaking altogether.
Exactly. And let's not forget about vocabulary. Many learners feel limited by the number of words they know, and this can make it difficult to express themselves clearly.
Right. It's frustrating when you have an idea in your head, but you're just not sure how to say it. This is why expanding your vocabulary is key to improving your speaking skills.
And here's something else. Not enough practice. Many learners focus on reading or writing, but they don't speak as much. Speaking is a skill, and it gets better the more you use it.
That's absolutely true. It's just like learning an instrument. You have to practice regularly to get better. If you don't use your speaking skills, you won't see progress.
Another challenge is pronunciation. Some learners worry that their accent might be too strong or that they won't sound native enough.
And that's completely understandable. But here's the thing. Having an accent is totally normal. Even native speakers have accents, depending on where they're from.
Exactly. So if you're listening and you feel self-conscious about your accent, don't worry. The goal is to be understood, not to sound perfect.
Well said. So, to sum up, the main challenges are fear, lack of vocabulary, not enough speaking practice, and concerns about pronunciation.
And don't forget lack of confidence. Sometimes learners have the words, but they just don't feel confident enough to speak up.
Definitely. But the good news is all of these challenges can be overcome with the right approach.
And we'll talk about how you can do that in the next part. Stay tuned. We've got some great tips coming your way.
So, let's talk about the importance of speaking English regularly. Bill, why is regular practice so essential?
Well, Bill, speaking English regularly is absolutely key to improving your skills. Just like any other skill, the more you practice, the better you get.
Exactly. If you want to get good at playing a sport or playing an instrument, you have to practice every day. The same goes for speaking English. Consistent practice makes a huge difference.
That's right. It's not about perfection, but about getting comfortable with speaking. The more you speak, the more confident you'll feel. And when you're confident, it's easier to improve.
And another thing is that regular speaking helps you learn to think in English. The more you practice speaking, the more natural it becomes to form sentences in your mind.
Absolutely. And when you're able to think in English, you're not just translating from your native language, you're actually processing information in English, which leads to more fluent speech.
That's a great point. Also, speaking English regularly helps you become more comfortable with the language itself. You'll get used to the sounds, rhythm, and structure, which helps you sound more natural.
Exactly. So try to set aside some time each day, even if it's just for a few minutes, to speak in English. It doesn't matter if you don't have a conversation partner, you can still practice on your own.
Right. For example, you can talk to yourself in English, practice speaking in front of a mirror, or even record yourself speaking and listen to it later.
And don't forget about language exchange partners or conversation groups. There are so many ways to get regular speaking practice, and that's how you'll improve.
So, to sum it up, the more you speak, the more comfortable and confident you'll get. And that's how you'll improve your speaking skills over time.
That's right. It's all about consistency and making speaking a regular part of your life. Now that we've talked about the importance of regular practice, let's dive into some specific techniques that can help you improve your speaking skills. Bill, what are some of the best techniques you've found to improve speaking?
Well, Sarah, one of the most effective techniques is speaking with others. Conversations with native speakers or fellow learners can really boost your skills.
That's right. It's one thing to study vocabulary and grammar, but actually using the language in conversation is where the magic happens. When you speak, you get immediate feedback and learn in a more interactive way.
Exactly. Another technique is listening and repeating. This may sound simple, but listening to native speakers, whether it's from podcasts, TV shows, or YouTube, and then repeating what they say helps you improve your pronunciation and intonation.
Great point. You can also mimic the way they speak, like their rhythm and flow. It's like copying a model to learn the proper way to express yourself.
And don't forget about shadowing. Shadowing is when you listen to a short clip of someone speaking and immediately try to repeat everything they say at the same time, without pausing. It's a great way to improve fluency and pronunciation.
Shadowing is definitely a powerful technique. It helps you get comfortable with the pace of native speakers and builds your ability to respond quickly.
Another great technique is recording yourself. It might feel awkward at first, but when you listen to yourself speak, you can spot areas for improvement. It's like having your own personal coach.
Yes, recording yourself and then listening to your recordings helps you notice things you might not catch when you're speaking. Are you pronouncing words correctly? Are you using natural intonation? These are things you can work on by listening back.
Absolutely. And if you don't have a conversation partner, you can practice by talking to yourself in English. Describe what you're doing during the day, your thoughts, or even talk about a topic you're interested in.
That's a great idea, Bill. Talking to yourself in English helps you think in English and also improves your ability to form sentences naturally.
You can also use language exchange apps, where you chat with other learners or even native speakers who want to learn your language. It's a great way to practice speaking, even if you don't have a physical conversation partner nearby.
And let's not forget about online speaking clubs and discussion forums. You can join virtual events where people discuss topics in English, and you'll have the chance to practice speaking in a more structured setting.
Right. There are tons of online resources for that. The key is to make speaking part of your daily routine and to find a method that works best for you.
Exactly. No matter which technique you choose, the key is consistency and making speaking a regular part of your learning journey.
So, whether it's shadowing, recording yourself, or speaking with others, each of these techniques will help you improve your speaking skills over time.
That's right, Bill. And remember, the goal is to practice as much as possible and don't be afraid to make mistakes along the way. Now that we've covered some techniques to improve speaking, let's talk about vocabulary. Bill, how important is expanding your vocabulary when it comes to speaking better?
It's incredibly important, Sarah. The more words you know, the more effectively you can express yourself. Having a rich vocabulary gives you the tools to describe things more clearly, share your thoughts more precisely, and avoid getting stuck in conversations.
That's right. If you don't have the right words, it's harder to explain what you mean. But the good news is, you can expand your vocabulary every day in simple ways.
Exactly. One of the best ways to expand your vocabulary is through reading. The more you read, whether it's books, articles, or even social media posts, the more words you'll come across, and you'll see them in context, which makes it easier to remember and use them.
Absolutely. And when you encounter new words, try to understand them in context. Look at how they're used in sentences and try to guess their meaning from the context before looking them up in a dictionary.
That's a great tip, Sarah. Context is key. Another effective way to expand your vocabulary is by learning synonyms. For example, instead of always saying happy, you could use words like joyful, content, or elated.
Right. Variety is important. Using a wider range of words will make you sound more fluent and natural, and it keeps conversations interesting.
Absolutely. And another technique is using flashcards. You can create digital flashcards or even old-fashioned paper ones with new words and their meanings. Review them regularly to keep the words fresh in your mind.
Flashcards are a great idea, and there are plenty of apps out there that can help you with vocabulary building exercises. These apps can help you review words in a more interactive way, making the process fun and engaging.
Another method is to keep a vocabulary journal. Whenever you come across a new word, write it down, along with its meaning and an example sentence. Over time, this becomes a personal dictionary that's easy to refer back to.
I love that idea. A vocabulary journal can be a valuable resource, especially when you're trying to remember words you don't use every day.
And don't forget about speaking. When you learn new words, make an effort to use them in your conversations. It's one thing to know a word, but it's another to be able to use it confidently and correctly in real conversations.
Exactly. The more you use a new word in conversation, the more natural it will feel, and the more likely you are to remember it.
So, expanding your vocabulary is about exposure, practice, and using the words in real conversations. The more words you know, the easier it will be to speak confidently and clearly.
And remember, vocabulary building is a continuous process. Don't rush it. Take your time and focus on learning words that are useful and relevant to you. Now that we've covered some techniques for improving your speaking skills and expanding your vocabulary, let's talk about something that many learners struggle with: fear. Fear of speaking English, to be specific. Bill, why do you think people are so afraid to speak?
Well, Sarah, I think the biggest reason is fear of making mistakes. A lot of people worry about saying something wrong, whether it's mispronouncing a word or using incorrect grammar. And that fear can make them freeze up and not speak at all.
That's such a common problem, but here's the truth. Everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. The important thing is to keep going, even if you make a mistake. It's part of the learning process.
Exactly. And the more you speak, the less afraid you'll be of making mistakes. It's all about building confidence through practice.
Right. So instead of focusing on the fear of being wrong, try to focus on the fact that speaking is about communication. It's about getting your message across, not being perfect.
Absolutely. And remember, making mistakes actually helps you learn. When you get something wrong, it's an opportunity to improve. You can always correct yourself and learn from it.
Another way to overcome the fear is to start with small steps. Maybe try speaking with a friend or family member who's supportive, or even talk to yourself in front of a mirror to build up your confidence.
Yes, building confidence takes time. And the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become. Just keep reminding yourself that every time you speak, you're getting better.
That's so true. So don't let fear hold you back. Embrace the process, make mistakes, and keep speaking.
Exactly. The more you speak, the more confident you'll become. So, go ahead and take that first step.
All right, now that we've talked about overcoming fear, let's get into some practical ideas for real-life speaking practice. Because at the end of the day, the best way to improve your speaking is to actually speak.
Absolutely, Sarah. And one of the easiest ways to start is by talking to yourself in English. It may sound funny, but it's a great way to practice. You can describe what you're doing, talk about your plans for the day, or even express your thoughts out loud.
I love that idea. And you don't need anyone else to practice. You can do it anytime, anywhere. Another great idea is to use mirror practice. Stand in front of a mirror and speak. It helps you see your facial expressions and body language, making your speaking feel more natural.
Yes, mirror practice is perfect for building confidence. And if you want to make it more interesting, you can even role-play different scenarios, like introducing yourself at a party, ordering food at a restaurant, or asking for directions.
That's such a fun way to practice. And if you're feeling a bit more adventurous, you can try language exchange apps. These apps connect you with native speakers who want to learn your language so you can help each other.
Exactly. It's a win-win, and you get the experience of speaking with someone who can help you correct your mistakes in real time. Another idea is to join online conversation groups or speaking clubs. Many of them are free and available for all levels.
Those are great. You can join a group that meets regularly so you have a chance to speak with different people and practice in a friendly, supportive environment.
And if you're shy or not ready for group settings, you can start by recording yourself speaking. Choose a topic, talk for a few minutes, and then listen to the recording. This will help you notice areas for improvement.
That's such a great idea, Bill. You can even keep a speaking journal. Record a short audio entry every day, talking about your day, your thoughts, or even summarizing something you learned.
Another great option is watching TV shows or movies in English, and then trying to explain what you watched out loud. It helps you practice using new vocabulary and expressing your thoughts.
Yes! And if you have a friend who's also learning English, you can practice together. Choose a topic, set a timer for 5 minutes, and just talk. Take turns asking each other questions to keep the conversation going.
Perfect. So, whether you're talking to yourself, joining a group, using apps, or practicing with a friend, the goal is to speak as much as possible.
Exactly. Remember, the more you speak, the more comfortable and confident you'll become. So find a method you enjoy and make it a part of your daily routine. Well, we've covered so much today, Bill. From understanding the challenges of speaking English to learning powerful techniques and practical speaking ideas.
Absolutely, Sarah. And if there's one thing I want our listeners to remember, it's that improving your English speaking skills is a journey. It won't happen overnight, but every time you speak, you're making progress.
That's so true. And remember, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning, and they actually help you become better. The key is to keep practicing and never give up.
Exactly. And here are a few final tips for our listeners. First, make speaking a habit. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day, consistency is what makes the difference.
Second, don't be too hard on yourself. Everyone has an accent, and that's okay. Your goal should be to communicate clearly, not to sound perfect.
And third, keep a positive attitude. Learning a language is a journey, and it should be fun. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small.
I love that, Bill. So, to all our listeners, keep speaking, keep learning, and most importantly, enjoy the process.
That's right. You're doing an amazing job just by being here and working on your English. Keep it up.
Thank you all for joining us today on the English Learning Podcast. We hope you found this episode helpful and inspiring.
And if you did, please subscribe to our channel. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'll be back soon with more tips and techniques to help you master English.
Until next time, keep practicing and stay confident.